very pleased to have James Fuller on with us tonight at Strongman Archaeology. I think he's affected a lot of us in the last month or so, and we had him on the podcast talking old-time strength, and he probably doesn't see it, like he sees it on Instagram, but maybe not so much in the community platform that, you know, a lot of us have been buzzing off of these old time movements and starting to see the connections with some of the things that maybe are missing, or well, no, not maybe, they are missing in, you know, today's application. And, you know, for us being a platform of coaches trying to help people best we can, we are forever seeking mentors like James and just trying to learn as much as we can from people like this. And like for me, and I've said this maybe in the podcast, and I've said this to you guys in the community, like the biggest thing that's really, you know, with James sharing his stuff with me and talking to him about training and old time strength and everything, like the biggest deficit that I'm seeing that we're not addressing as best that we could and that we could do a way better job at is the lateral strength component to training. And that's an interesting topic, because even like, what is lateral strength? Like when James talks about lateral strength and I'm, you know, talking about it now, it's like, okay, it's not lateral. We're not talking about like lateral performance training, like movement training like that, or it's strength training. It's a component of strength training that was very big, popular a long time ago. And then it kind of fell to the wayside and people started getting a little more broken along the way. And just the way James presents it and talks about it, I think is just, you know, it really brings to light like how we need to be addressing it and using it. So yeah, like first, I think that would be a good thing for us to talk about, James, is like, you know, how do you define lateral strength? What's lateral strength to you?
Well, it's the ability to be balanced left to right, because we're either dominant with one side or the other, most of us, and being able to comfortably and confidently use either side, you know. And if you're strong and you've trained to move laterally, to have the mobility and the strength for lateral movement, you know, you're going to have all of that, you know. Even it's funny because even our eyes are left to right dominant. So that affects us. You know, I do some things differently because I'm right-handed but left eye dominant, and so it changes up some things for me in a small way. But it's very important that we're balanced that way, left to right. But it also produces. If you look at someone who does a heavy squat, and you notice they shift to one side when they're squatting, and it's because they don't have lateral strength on one side. They're confident with the other side, but they're not confident with both sides. You know, so how much more would they squat or deadlift or bench press or press if they were exerting close to equal force? I understand that you're not going to get a 1-to-1 ratio, but you can usually get 10%, you know, between the two. So, you know, that to me is big. That to me is a big preventative. Who's to say that, you know, it's one thing to squat 225 and favor one side, but you get up to 500, 600 pounds and you're favoring one side. And how many years did it take you to get to that 500, 600 pound squat?
Right.
You know, I think a lot of stuff that comes at my age, I'll be 49 soon, a lot of injuries or problems that pop up isn't necessarily from getting older. I think it's cumulative 30 years of doing something just a little bit not right. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think if we can address our lateral strength, being able to move in a lateral plane, you know, being able to use the side muscles to help us move. I think that that can really help improve either the quality of our sports by either being better at our sports, less chance for injury, just being better at everyday life, you know?
Yeah. We had chatted about this week. We were kind of brainstorming a little bit about this discussion, and you know, you were talking about that whole like front to back balance. It's like,
yeah,
that's mainly all that's being addressed for the most part in training is front to back. Like no one's looking at, I mean, there's application of lateral movement, but not this way, like not bending, not twisting. It's it's more of an avoidance of those things. So
Yes,
avoid
yes.
avoid twisting, and we've been bringing that with the front to back approach to like some of our movements, like our Jefferson curls, and
Yep.
getting more into, bending, and having a different look at the spine and the way the body moves. But we haven't addressed it enough, I don't think, with rotation and with
No.
side bending.
Yep.
um,
Yep. I
some
agree.
of the flexibility movements we've put in range of strength is there are side bend components to it, but not to the point where you're building high levels of strength.
Right.
And that's the key, right? Is like we've talked about this too, where it's anytime that there isn't a lower back issue or a sciatic issue, um, in the clinical setting, it's the high rep approach, the TheraBand
Yep.
approach, the
Yep.
massage, and then see you later. There's no
Right.
addressing the movement, um, the way the body bends and twists. And I think with some of these movements that you've shown me in these last couple of months is like, these are the type of movements we need to get good at. We need to understand how to apply them and how to do them,
Yes.
um, to maximize that ability. Because that is an ability. Because like I've been doing it, like doing the side press. I'd be sending you videos, and I'm like, okay, this is my body's not figuring out how to move like this.
Right.
It took a little
Right.
bit, right? Because I wasn't moving
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
So yeah, I think
And you do
that's
have the muscle fibers to do that.
yeah, yeah. That was a great comment on
That's dude. That's a T-shirt you guys got to do. Come on. That's a T-shirt.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's not possible you don't have
Yeah.
the fibers. I was like, okay,
That's right.
I'm just gonna
I
let you
mean,
guys
there.
jump on that one.
Gray's Anatomy actually has muscle. They'll tell you the muscles in the spine that are called rotators.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. They rotate your spine. It's just funny. It's just funny.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
It's yeah, yeah. Just thank you for that. Whoever you were, thank you. That's given me plenty of chuckle material. Wow.
So what we wanted to do tonight, we thought it would be cool to do it this way, is share screen some of James's videos with some of these movements that we talked about yesterday. Like the cool thing about old time strength too, old time strongman stuff, is there is more. There are more than this, but these were the ones that we thought were like really good to present to you guys. Examine technique, application,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
and just kind of have some discussion around it. Because I know some of you have been using it. I've been using them. If you haven't been using them, just get in on this discussion now. I mean, Andrew's
Yeah.
in his gym squatting right now. He could probably do a set or two while we're talking, and we could probably give him some feedback. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, we thought it'd be
Yeah.
cool to not do death by PowerPoint like I tend to do too much of, but just to pull some videos up and
Mm.
just go over, technical cues and some of the nose and just what we want to be thinking about there. So I'm just going to pull this share screen up. So first one we're going to look at is the side press.
Yes.
And the side press is a cool movement because it does lead to a lot more things too. Like if you do decide I'm like
Yes.
going to get into strongman, old time strongman stuff, it's like this would be, like you're saying, James, like the starting point for bent pressing and
Yes. Yes,
like
it will.
knowing how to move your body like this, which is cool because again, it's like knowing the
Yes.
progressions and regressions of movement and stuff. But um,
Yes.
so yeah, let's just take a look. Scroll a little bit, James. This is a nice video because James goes back and forth. Can you guys all see this video? Just thumbs up. Riley, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. Cool. All right. So let's just watch first, and then we'll just talk a little bit about the technical points here.
Well, before you start,
Pause it
Can
there.
I say something before you go any further? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Think about your pelvis, the shape of your pelvis. It's walls. It's a wall of bone all the way around, except in the front. And what I'm trying to do is turn my torso, so I have to twist to get myself to be able to slide down in between the two walls of the pelvis. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm leaning over. I am not. I am shoving my hips over.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between leaning over your legs and shoving the hips over. So go ahead. I'll shut up for now.
That's what I struggled with too. I was trying to, I wasn't moving through the hips. I was like just kind of moving down. Like it was kind of like a brain, I don't know, connection thing that was going on when I was getting into these.
Yeah.
This is a nice video because you go back and forth.
Yes. And notice I very sharply try to point my feet the opposite way, opposite of the lifting hand. So I'm lifting, it's pointing to the opposite side. And that helps cue up getting down in between the hips.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to twist and try to slide down in between the hips.
Yeah. The bottom position you're getting into reminds me of a windmill, like windmill exercise,
Yes.
but the foot positioning and stuff is different than I was taught. But when I was set up in that foot position, it was way more aggressive through the TFL and the QLs.
Yeah. And I'm doing the traditional style, which is heels no more than 12 inches apart between the heels. And when you notice when I start, I'll actually pre-stretch by bringing the plate a little bit across my chest because I'm going to wind up, kind of like winding up for a pitch. I'm going to wind up with that weight. So you'll see a small turn across the chest. Now, it may be familiar to a windmill. I don't comment too much about that because I've never learned what a windmill is, but I see a lot of people taking a windmill and touching the ground with it. And that's something I don't encourage with the side press because I want to focus on shoving the hips over, which is going to open up your QL, your TFL. Whereas if you lean over to the point that you can put your hand on the floor, you're not pushing the hips over as far from what I see.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just not seeing the same stretch. You've done both, right?
Yeah,
You've done the side press and the windmill.
Yeah, this is way more aggressive through the obliques and the TF. Like when I did it like I could feel it way more through my sides. Whereas the windmill is more of a trunk rotation and a hamstring kind of stretch.
Yes. Okay.
And we are thinking about staying straight with the legs here.
Yes. Yeah. The legs stay locked from beginning to end. It should be more than what you can normally press with one hand. Once you get going, it's meant to be an overload for your lockout.
And I think it was this movement yesterday you were mentioning about how it should be stacked when you finish. Like, what is this movement? You were talking about how it should be stacked? I don't know.
I don't think so. If you don't feel it in the QL, then maybe you got a really mobile QL. Or if your TFL is super tight, you're probably going to feel it more in there than you will with the QL.
Yeah. I feel it more in my TFL on my left than I do on my right.
I can get. That's a great point. I'm glad you said that because these are all going to feel different one side to the other, which is going to tell you what is your weakness on each side. It's very educational.
Yeah.
Or you must notice your big difference between your right and left.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's funny because my left shoulder is weak. Like it's weaker than my right, especially on this movement. And then to see like my TFL being so jammed up too, it's just like, the problem's coming all the way down.
What's interesting is because I'm right-handed, I do better with a left-hand bent press and a left-hand side press because it's your right hand obliques, lat pulling you down.
Hmm.
It's pretty interesting.
So you use side press. You introduce side press to all of the people you help. Like it's kind of like one of those introductory movements.
After they get through because a lot of people I work with have a lot of shoulder postural issues, and I can't get them to do a side press anytime soon. So we have to start out with twisting side bends and cross leg side bends.
So we're going to get into those next.
Some of the people I work with, their shoulders are just so crazy bad. You know, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people I work with, I have to start focusing on from the belly button down.
So you focus on
because there's just
yeah.
Well, just because they've got so much to get done, I'm like, all right, let's get the foundation from the feet up to the belly button, and then we can start slowly chipping away at the rest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just you got to consider people can only handle so much.
Yeah.
Before they get discouraged, you know, you tell someone you've got 13 things we need to work on, they're probably going to quit that day. You know, so.
That is the crutch of the coach sometimes, is like we overwhelm someone when they come in because we have all this knowledge and we just want to.
We mean well.
Yeah, we mean well. And I've done that before. I've overwhelmed people, and you do a baseline assessment, you never see them again. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're like, well, can we do the upper body? Because this is starting to feel good. I go, yeah, I'll let you know. I don't make any timetable. I don't put any pressure. I'm glad that they're excited, but you got to be careful, man. You got to make it work for them. Because I'm not dealing with high level athletes. I'm dealing with people that are regular, got a mortgage, got kids, got a job, got a car payment. You know.
Well, we've talked about this a few times. Like Ben Patrick gets asked that question all the time. Like he used to all the time. Like, you know, working with athletes versus working with general population. And I agree fully in my experience working with both is that there's not much difference when you start working with them in terms of like how well they move. Like a lot of athletes are really good at their sport, but you know, they can't move their hips into positions like this, and they don't have good flexibility. They don't have awareness. Right. So it's almost like, I think that's
we all have the posture of our lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shifting hips away from the weight or away from the free hand. I'm actually trying to move the hips kind of diagonally away from my feet. So I'm twisting the torso as I'm shoving my hips.
Yeah, just so anyone watching knows, that's a question. Just asking James to restate hip positioning on the side press there.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you point your feet to the opposite of the side that has weight, you just start shoving your hips over kind of diagonally. So not to the side, not to the rear, but diagonally back. You know. And it's hard because it's like weightlifting. You know, you look at weightlifting because I compete in weightlifting, but weightlifting isn't what you see. It's what the intent of the person was. And that's what you have to look at is we look at body positions and you're like, oh, you're trying to do this. It's like, well, no, that's a result of trying to do this. Mm-hmm. But you can't see that I'm trying to shove my hips over that way. You think I'm trying to touch the ground. No, I'm not. I'm actually trying to shift my hips over. My hand goes lower, but I'm really trying to shove my hips over and create this angle in my legs of a slant or of an incline, you know?
Mm-hmm. So maybe should we like I have the trunk rotation, the waiter's press.
Sure.
Should we go to that one, or should we go to cross leg and twisting?
Sure.
All right, we'll go trunk. Okay. So this is a cool one as well too. And I like how a lot of your videos, you kind of, if you guys follow James on YouTube, 61 PWCC, that's your old truck, eh?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, his videos have a really nice tutorial also about the movement, why it's good. But this is the trunk rotation, the waiter's press. So it's looks a lot similar, looks a lot like the side press. And here you're giving a demonstration of the reach. I'll just mute that. Unmute that. So you're giving the demonstration of the reach without the rotation. And then with the rotation.
I can show you how much higher I can reach.
Yeah.
You know.
That's really cool.
So
like, you know, when we really think about range of strength, it's like, okay, you're really maximizing and finding the range of your strength there.
Yes.
Like that's
yes. So there's so much. It's incredible, because when you think about how much of athletics there is a twisting rotation component, whether you intend it or not.
So this looks a lot like side press. Like from this angle here, I think there's another video or another clip where you can see your feet a bit more. But the feet are
I'm trying to stay upright. I'm not. Once I lean away too much, then I quit the set. I either quit the reps or drop the weight. But the goal is to get the weight. Like right now, it's in my right hand. Well, okay, now it's in my left hand. And my goal is to twist, press, and try to finish the twist and the press at the same time over the opposite heel. So if you look at the top, I'm over my opposite heel. In other videos, you can see where I show my whole body. This is my first time taping it, so I needed to figure that out. But the goal is to be over the opposite heel.
Yeah, this one I think is...
Oh, okay, yeah. I will check my videos throughout, so I'll try to improve. You can see I'm finishing up over the other leg. I'm doing that wind up for the twist, and I'm trying to finish the twist and the lockout at the same time.
Cool.
And
so this one,
don't be afraid or don't worry about that leg, that heel that I'm trying to get over. The heel will come up. Let the heel come up. It's part of your extension. It's part of your contraction. A lot of people worry about, am I supposed to keep my heels down? Let your body tell you what to do. Some people who are super mobile in the ankle may not find that they're going to have the heel leave the ground, but don't worry about it. But I do that pre-stretch, that wind up at the beginning, coming across the chest. And I try to finish. It takes a little bit to get the timing of the rotation and the extension of the lockout at the same time. And if I absolutely can't get them together, it tells me the weight's too heavy, that I need to stop.
Yeah. That's a cool movement. I would even just think like my mind's just kind of stirring a little bit here, but this would be like even a cool movement maybe for back bridge training. So getting into, trunk extension work, opening up your lats, and then opening up your trunk rotation in an overhead movement. So shoulders and trunk rotation and T-spine.
I don't necessarily feel this in my ankle, but I also do some pretty crazy mobility stuff for my ankles anyway. So I may not be the best judge of that. You may feel it in your ankles, but I don't. But I do some pretty crazy ankle mobility work, so strength work. So, but I had a genetic issue, runs on the mom's side of my family, and it resulted in me learning a lot about ankle muscles and anatomy, and I've really built up a lot of ability in my ankles. But I had a lot of problems in my youth, and I've learned to get stronger to overcome them.
What's like one thing you learned about the ankles that you feel like is not something we're addressing properly?
Do I? You talking to me? Do I don't feel like that.
Or is there like something in particular that?
Well, I mean, it's when you look at the anatomy and you realize that fallen arches can be helped to some extent with inversion work, which is the tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior. you can really help your fallen arches or someone who's prone to it. Um, and so I realizing that, not that that was my problem, but that was some of my research led to, because I had a problem with my ankles being loose, and I would be standing to you talking, and I would fall out. I would fall down. My ankle would dislocate. The teacher would think I was fooling around, and I just would fall down, you know.
Hmm.
And that's how loose my ankles were. And so I learned about, well, geez, look how big your calf muscle is. Well, look how small your shin muscle is. Geez, do you think maybe there's an imbalance there? Do you think one's maybe overpowering the other? And I just started doing a lot of shin work, inversion work, and I got to the point that I could do sit-ups hanging by the tops of my feet.
Yeah, he's on the call. He has fallen arches. He's been working on that. So maybe we do a lot of tibialis work with the knee ability stuff. Like we're doing like
Yep.
tibialis raises, and we attach weight to it.
Yep.
Like I know that the weighted standing hip flexor lift, like
the knee up.
Yeah, the knee ups. That you sent me that, and it looks like the cable hip flexor one that Ben does, but you just have a kettlebell on your foot and you're just lifting it up, or a dumbbell. And that jacked up my tibialis after I did that. I was like, my tibialis was jacked up for a little bit.
The kneeling, you know, when I warm up for my split snatches and I do the kneeling jump splits.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing kneeling squats, kneeling jumps, I'm on the tops of my feet. I don't have my feet bent at all. They're flat. The tops of my feet are on the platform. Well, that's shin work. You're going to have to use your shins to launch you off that platform on some level, you know.
Very cool. So with this movement, the trunk rotation press versus the side press, would there be like any, like one first and then the other, or just like if you start introducing someone to them, you would do both?
I do both because the trunk rotation or via the twisting waiters press, that helps offset a lot of everyone's holding their phone in their hand these days. We're all pitched to one side. We're all shoved forward. So the twisting waiters press really helps. What I had them do is I had them do their better side first. So if they're right-handed, they're going to be more jacked on their right side. So I have them do their left first. And I say, see how much movement you've got with your left? All right, now go do that with the other side. And they're like, well, it's my right side. I can do that easily. No, they can't, because they're all tight and jacked up, you know. Yeah. So the goal, if you don't mind me saying, the goal for me is I'm trying to get people strong enough that it combats their daily routine. They're strong enough with this twisting, with this lateral movement, that they're still aligned. Yeah. So it may be a 40-pound weight for some, it might be a 60-pound weight for others. But there's a certain maintenance level that you can hit that should keep you in fair fettle, you know, keep you from getting all jacked up.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that kind of standardization thought too, which is, I think, something as coaches we always obsess over. But like you did say to me, the side press should feel like your strict press, about the same strength. Like you were saying, like
if not more, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like a cool perspective. Yeah. If you start doing side press and you're like feeling really weak, but you can press 80 pounds each hand up or something, right? Like it's highlights that deficit.
Well, that's what. Yeah. Well, that's what got lost with the old time strongman. When we stopped doing the movements, we lost the proportions. There used to be historians that had great list of what your clean and jerk should be compared to your one hand press. How much what your side press should be to your bent press. How much your squat should be to your clean and jerk, you know. And we've lost a lot of that ability. A lot of that knowledge is gone, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still there. It's just nobody cares.
No, I love those numbers. I love looking at those kind of things and targets, and like, cause then like for me as a coach, then it like, I know when coaching people or even myself, it's like you give someone those targets to work towards. So I know like I've shown a few guys at the gym I've been going to the side press, and light bulbs go off for them when I say that you should be as strong in this as you are on your seated press or standing press, and they're like, what? Because
Yes.
they can't,
Yes.
they're trying to rotate and press 20 kilos, but they can, press up way more.
Yep. It's nice
Yeah.
because what it does is it kind of opens your mind and opens other people's minds that, hey, that mobility work that you always, shuck off and say, oh, I'll get it later, but you always do the training, always do the squats and the deadlifts and all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff is both. So here's a heavy lift you can do, but it's also going to make you super mobile.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
going to strengthen
so
your
we're not
low
asking
back,
you to add to your,
shoulders. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's also
Which
going to
is
break up a
like,
lot of scar tissue you didn't know you had.
yeah, which is a huge thing I find with training people who don't have a lot of time. Like if we're talking about
Yes,
efficiency here, it's like I can't get you to deadlift and then press and then squat or whatever. Like it's like, okay, we need to
right.
find a big movement that's going to give you all of that and more.
Yes,
When I look at these
yes,
movements, like a side press and a twisting press, it's like, okay, that's your deadlift and your press and your twist and your rotation all in one. It's like,
yep.
get someone good at
Oh
that.
yeah,
They just have to work at that. Like I mean, squatting would probably be like getting them in the deep knee positions and stuff, but yeah, it's really all encompassing.
once you understand, you can really get a lot done with just 2 or 3 movements. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all about that too. That minimal effective dose, get things done. If you do have um, a list of those ratios, or even are they in the super strength book? I haven't, I just started going through it.
I don't believe so. I put up a post about some of the ratios I did for myself, and I really do it with everyone else, but I have to term it for myself because people get upset. Like even one of the guys was upset that my comparison to dips and pull-ups should be a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm like, well, the post was about me, not about you. When people get upset, it's because they know they're not up to standard.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very
Yeah.
funny, but I can send you some more guidelines. What I try to follow, what I think is reasonable. You know.
Yeah. I think we would really vibe off of that if you had some ratios on some of these movements, and like that would be really cool to see your perspective on that.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just not just going off my training, but I'm also going off a lot of the guys before steroids. You know, so we're talking mid 1950s down to like the early 1900s. You just observe what they were doing, and you can kind of come up with a general idea of what goes to what.
Yeah. Yeah. Poliquin was
I
good
love
on that.
Charles Poliquin.
Yeah.
Oh, he was brilliant. And we wound up saying the same thing, just very differently. God bless him. Man, he's gone way too soon.
Yeah, for
Way too
sure.
soon. I really liked him a lot. Yeah. He was. I can't say anything bad about him.
Yeah. We
A
usually
little
don't
jealous
have
of how big his arms are, but aside from that,
he one rep maxed his arms and taught that. That was always what I
yeah.
loved about that too.
Yeah.
Is like he wasn't pumping his arms. He was getting, you look at some of his arm programs, it's like a 5-3-1 for a strict curl,
Yeah.
and you're like, holy shit, okay. So the arms are big and strong.
It's interesting. Yeah, it is. He's something else. I loved his comment, and I think he wrote an article, but he also made the comment on another podcast not long before he died either. But he said discipline is bullshit, and I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. You know, did you hear him talk about that?
I've heard that quote that he said, like, move around a lot. Like, that people
Yeah,
share that quote a lot. Discipline is bullshit.
yeah.
It's one of, like,
He just said, listen, well, we'll talk about it later. We don't have a lot of time, but he definitely was saying, sorry to tease everyone, but Poliquin's great. Let's just move on. Poliquin's great. We all love him. God
yeah,
bless him. We miss him. We miss him. We miss him a
yeah.
lot.
This is the cross leg side bend. So what's cool, like I started sharing this in the community and stuff, is it looks very similar to another one that we do, which is like, just, I think it's just your standard side bend without the legs crossed, basically.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a stagger stance approach, more QL specific, but this is like just adds that piece, that missing piece. It's just, and
Very
like
popular.
like you can't strengthen and stretch the TFL. Like I've found, like this has been like a game changer for me.
This is very popular with the people I work with. It tends to, they get a lot of back adjustment. You hear a lot of cracking and popping in their lower backs with this.
mhm.
Clients love this. They love it. The balance is good and bad. It's easy to go off balance, but that means you have to slow down, and that's good.
So some, like one of the big cues here is that really changes the stretch and the feel of it is you're really bending into this front leg.
Yes, allow the front leg to bend as much as possible.
Yeah.
And
Like as soon as you do
something
that,
that, yeah, if you're like the people that aren't mobile yet on this movement, they tend to stay more to the side because they can't bend as deeply. And also maybe some people mistakenly don't unlock that front leg. When you unlock the front leg and you have the mobility, your body will now start to bend down and forward so you can go down to the ground. I think what can help with the balance is you're going to feel the shift in your feet. As you go down, you're going to feel the shifts into one foot, and then you're going to feel as you come up, it's going to shift back into another foot or spread it more evenly. So don't try to worry about keeping pressure on both feet. Let it go to that side foot, the weighted side.
I haven't been pushing my straight leg into the ground as much as I've just been trying to really keep it straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Back leg I tend to keep straight. Yeah, for the stretch. Yeah, front leg, let it bend as much as you want. You can decide not to let the front leg bend and only do a side movement, and that's fine if that's what you want. If that's what your body's like, hey man, I really need that.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes I'll go all the way down. Yeah, I'll let the weight. I shove the hips away from the weight. That's a good question. Not diagonally, but I definitely shove it over. I don't try to bend over my legs. I try to shove my hips as far away from the weight as possible. And if anything I explain doesn't make sense, say, hey, old man, talk in my language. Say something better. You know, that's
Gabriel's
fine.
got, did you see Gabriel's question there?
What was it? There was a couple that came up at the same time, so I've got two eyes, but I could only read one.
Differences between straight lateral bend versus side or forward bend, like the switch of emphasis. Do you mean like going right to the side laterally or coming forward some, Gabriel?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's the difference if you were to just stay on the side versus like have a shift to that bend?
Oh, shifting. What's the difference of shifting to just the side rather than allowing yourself to come forward?
Yeah.
I think the stretch just wouldn't be as deep, and I don't think you get as much QL stretch. I think it winds up being more pure TFL and glute medius. At least for me, it is. When I really want to stretch my back out, I make sure to go all the way down to the ground.
So let's also note that you're using 125 pounds. So
yeah, here it's only, or is it 125 here? Well, this first video is 50, I think. Yeah, that's a 50-pound scale weight. I've gone up to an inch dumbbell, which weighs 171 pounds. But it's something you shouldn't be afraid of working up to 3/4 of your body weight. There's a ratio. There's a proportion for you. How's that, guys?
all of us nerds are like, yes, 3/4. 3/4.
Oh, I love the numbers, dude. I get it. Yeah, 3/4 body weight. is not a bad goal to have. You
Yeah,
may not need it, but the other thing is, it's one thing for me to work with a client who's just a regular everyday schmuck going to work. But if I'm working with an athlete that wants to go take their squat from 4 to 500, then that means the cross leg side bend needs to go from whatever it is to match the 500-pound squat.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. I've been actually training these a lot harder lately, James. Or these, with the daily squat that I've been doing, this seems to be like the exercise that's helping me the most. Like I'll be
Oh,
doing
interesting.
twice a week.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. That might just be a me issue because my TFL does get jammed up. I don't know if it's the splits work or I'm still troubleshooting it and figuring it out for my own body. But like I've always done the side bend, like traditionally without the cross leg, and then doing the
Right.
cross leg, it's been helping a ton with the volume of work I've been doing. And
I wonder if a couple of light, a light set of these in between split work would
yeah,
what it would do for you.
I did that yesterday. I've been doing that. It makes so much sense to me
Oh,
because when you do the side split, you're in such big adduction, like you're really
yes.
shortening your TFL and
Yes.
glutes and contracting crazy hard. And then I'll do this between sets and it like opens them back up. It's almost like a post cap stretch, hip stretch, but I don't have like it's I did it yesterday. I've been doing it on my side split work and it does help
Yeah.
me a ton. Yeah.
When the weight gets heavy, and this pertains to what you were just saying, when you get tired or the weight gets heavy, you're going to notice cramping in your adductors because you're going to actively squeeze your legs together
Yeah.
to stabilize and to help pull you back over. So that contraction of the adductors is going to cause the abductors to relax because we know that a muscle can only shorten as much as its antagonist can lengthen.
Yeah.
So part of getting better at stretching is getting its opposite better at contracting, which a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah. 100%. We probably talk about that more than stretching and range of strength. That's why people come in, they're like, what? We're only talking about stretching like a little bit. It's all like strength.
Yeah.
But this is, so moving on to this one here, guys. So we really, if you look at it, we really isolated for lateral strength, the basically the press, side press and the waiter's press, and then the side bend, the cross leg side bend. This is the twisting side bend.
Yep.
And I like this right up here, James. This is cool. So James says, on an automobile, a U joint transfers power from one end to the other. I feel the hip low back area is our U joint. In both cases, if the U joint isn't able to do its job, you won't be going anywhere anytime soon. And then you're just saying your U joint's feeling clunky, and you went and you did the side bend that we're going to look at now. And you've been using this for around 20 years or so now.
Yeah.
And then you just talk about like we're moving again. This is like moving hips diagonally, not back,
Yes.
not to the side.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that
Correct.
side press. So it's kind of like a side press kind of feeling, eh?
Yeah.
More the diagonal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And legs are locked. And again, we're looking at the QL, erectors, the glute med, IT band, and TFL, lower obliques. But this one's cool because it really ties in the lats all the way up to the scapula.
Yes.
Which this is almost like the icing on the cake for people that deal with low back issues. So it looks just like it's like a one arm pickup.
Yeah. And 7 stone is 98 pounds.
So yeah, it's pretty easy. 98-pound pickup there.
Yeah. I've done it with an inch dumbbell before too, for a few reps, 3 or 4 reps, something like that. And I try to touch the ground to release the tension. Sometimes I don't, but a lot of times I make myself touch the ground to really get the lat stretch and to release the tension.
Yeah. It's like the
but it feels really good. It feels
yeah.
And I'm trying to get the dumbbell all the way. It sometimes comes down angled, but I'm really trying to get it parallel with the feet, on the outside of the feet. This can take a while to get used to, so don't rush it. Don't worry. Let the weight do the work. Just keep doing your reps, and you're going to notice that after a few reps, you're going to go lower and lower and lower. Just do your reps, and the weight will pull you down. That's why you can get results so quickly, is because the weight, really pulls you down. It's hard to make yourself pull down, but when you get 100 pounds there, or almost 100 pounds pulling you down, you're just going to go when it tells you to go. Yeah, legs are straight. It's a good incline in those legs. Yeah, really getting that lat stretch.
So you were saying you basically do a lot of your lateral strength stuff between like your linear strength work. So it's like one day, like
Correct.
linear, day lateral. That's cool.
Correct.
Way to do it too. But that's also
like
because
today was. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You can go ahead there. Today was what?
I was just going to say that today I did get ups. Tomorrow I've got cleans. The day after that will be bent press. Then the day after that will be jerks. So yeah, I alternate my regular work. Every other in between the workouts is some kind of lateral movement work.
That's cool. It really breaks up the like traditional approach.
Yeah. Well, it's hard not to like to be able to move.
Yeah.
For me, I like to move. I don't like feeling tight. I don't like, I like being able to do splits and side splits and all kinds of other stuff. I don't like feeling tight. I've never liked it. They're like, if you could put 50 pounds on your squat, but you're going to have to give up your mobility. No, thanks. No, thanks.
So I think
I'm all set.
What I'll do is drop these links in the chat here. You guys, if you want to just like have a closer look at these movements. And yeah, like you guys can unmute, and if you have some questions on your mind about some of this stuff, now's the time.
Yeah.
Take some questions. Trevor, you got a question, man? I'm not sure who's unmuted there.
Working with beginners, do you find that this sort of sideways movement is very tough to begin with because of, having the hips so locked up? Because we've got a lot of office workers and stuff like that train with us currently. We've worked on some splits work and just, hands to floor or palms to floor sort of pike work, and that's doing massive improvement.
Yes.
In terms of loading, would you say there's a starting point they should be able to do before doing these sorts of loaded movements, or just starting with something like a dumbbell and getting that sort of rotation as well? That's okay, like just something small?
I tend to avoid the side press unless their shoulder mobility is good.
Yep.
Good enough to do it. But usually I start with the cross leg side bend and the twisting side bend.
Yep.
And with the cross leg side bend, if they don't feel like they, I let them, the weight will figure it out for them. They'll go as deep as they can, but if you keep suggesting, just keep repping out, like don't do 5 reps. Like I'm going to have you do 15 or 20 reps and it will pull you down, So I encourage people to let the weight do the work for them, but I don't have them use a ton of weight at first. I want them to get the feel of it, so it could be just 5 kilos for a dumbbell,
Mm-hmm.
And then if I have to assess each set, that looked pretty easy. How about you go up to a 7.5 kilo dumbbell,
Mm-hmm.
or if they struggled with it, fine, we'll stay at 5, but I'm just going to have them keep doing reps, because each rep I have them do, is more of a suggestion to the body. This is where I want you to be. This is where I want you to be, So unless, like I said, that tends to be less technically difficult than the side press. That tends to be more of something, once they get the handle of the first 2, then I'll move up, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, perfect answer. Yeah, good. Yep.
Because people who are office workers, and I work with a lot of those people, they have no connection to their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So true. So true. Every single day.
Yeah. So you've really got to remember, I've been doing this over 35 years, and I have to pull myself back and say, hey, remember how squats felt weird the first time you did them? I mean, we all thought we weren't built for squats, right? The first time we did them, we're like, no, this isn't for me. It's like, keep at it, kid. You'll get it. And so you've got people that don't even know they're hurt, you know. They have no idea. You know, I was working with one guy. I couldn't even see his quadriceps contract because they were so tight. It was just bizarre. So, yeah, break them in easy. Break them in with the simple stuff, which I guess twisting side bend is probably easier than cross leg side bend after that. And then the side press and then the twisting waiters press after that, you know. It's I'd love to give it to them all at once, but you got to go with what they can handle, you know, mentally, you know.
Yeah, good question, Andrew.
Very good. Yes.
Cheers for that. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the real movement stuff, because I've been using the content since about November last year, and it's fascinating to see so many different elements to strength training. Because again, even our guys that have run the company for 6 years have seen some of the stuff that I've implemented into my own training and then started bringing into our classes, just little things like hands to floor and stuff like that. A lot of the boys I've then shown the other coaches at the other facilities up in the city, and, you know, sharing with them, hey guys, you guys are freaking tight, like, but you don't even realize it, because they can all pull 200 plus off the floor in a deadlift, which is great, but they can't touch their toes. They can now.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, they're seeing the benefits of being able to move. Like you said, add 50 pounds to your squat and give up your mobility. No, like even
No.
I would never do that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what else you can do, Andrew, is you can either take a stiff leg deadlift or a good morning and put 10 kilo plates under the front of the feet, under the balls of the feet, and have them do stiff leg deadlifts or good mornings with the plates under the front of the feet.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been doing a little bit of that with the slant boards. Have you seen our slant boards, James? Like when we use those?
Yep.
Yeah, we've done stiff leg work and Jefferson curls. Even I found were really good with the toes elevated. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too.
Yeah.
Can you give some kind of example of the things that you did to strengthen your feet and ankles back in the day?
The inversions, I took an old belt off a pair of pants and I attached weight to it. And if you ever sat down and if you're sitting down having tea or just sitting down chatting and you put one ankle up on the knee of the other leg, you ever done that?
Yeah.
You have a belt hanging off that foot that's dangling, that foot that's up on the other knee. I have a belt with weight on it, and I will start doing inversions. I'll hook the belt kind of behind the ball of the foot so it doesn't slip too far. It hooks in there, and I just let it pull the foot down. Don't worry about going definitely vertically or horizontally. It's going to kind of rotate. Just let it rotate down and over and then pull back up. And I'm trying to get the bottom of my foot to face the ceiling. It's going to cramp. It's going to hurt like hell. But some of the muscles, when they work by themselves, do a function. When they work together, they do another function. I don't know what your experience is. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I just don't know what your experience is. But with the tibialis anterior, when it works by itself, it's dorsiflexion. When the tibialis posterior works by itself, it helps with plantar flexion. It helps with stabilization of the knee, of the ankle, by going up and crossing over and connecting to the outside of the knee on the opposite side. But when you work those two together, they help with inversion. They help pull that arch up as you try to invert the foot and force that bottom of that foot towards the ceiling. That's a big help. that and doing what is called a dumbbell knee up, and I would just have myself on a platform, a small platform, so the dumbbell wouldn't hit the floor. But I pick up a dumbbell with one foot, and I try to drive that knee up as high as possible, and that uses hip flexors and shin muscles, and that really helped tighten up my ankles. It also traction my ankles, traction my knees, traction my hip and lower back as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
But those were the two main things I did. Well, and I'm telling you, if there was anybody that should have some kind of braces on their ankles or something, it should be me. I mean, I literally could be talking to you and would fall down because my ankles would just roll out, you know. And that's gone. That hasn't happened in, I don't know, 30 years. I don't know the last time it happened, you know.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very relatable to some of the stuff that we do, like with the tibialis raises with the weight attached to the foot. We just work on just dorsiflexion, but now basically, yeah, you're talking about like crossing the leg over, having it loaded, and working on inversion. So that's
I notice I will do pistol squats that way as well. So I will do a pistol squat with the other leg crossed over on top of the knee of the working leg. And that also, you can use that and start contracting that as you're doing the pistol squat. And that's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's like a Hawaiian squat. That's what
I've heard that before, and it may be, but I don't know. I was made in Hawaii, but I have no idea if that's what it is.
Yeah, we've done those too. Those are cool. Yeah, and then the knee ups are like the one of the ones we were doing a lot in the community and some of our performance programs and knee ability stuff is the lying hip flexor with a cable. So you basically just have your foot locked into a handle on a cable station and you're just doing knee ups on a lying position. But yeah, it's just basically standing with a dumbbell or kettlebell balance on your foot and doing the same thing. Yeah. No, that's cool. And then
and that winds up being I wound up using about 1/6 of my Steinborn lift.
For which one?
The dumbbell knee up. So if my max is somewhere just over 400 pounds, I'll be doing maybe a 75-pound dumbbell for a max.
I was doing 20 pounds the other day. I was getting crushed.
Yeah, it's new to you, though. It's new to you. That's all.
Yeah. Like my
once you get the hang of it.
Crushed.
Oh, yeah. Once you get the hang of it. Well, and you got two ways to doing it. Like sometimes I'll freestand it. Like I won't be touching anything. So it's totally balanced on one leg, drive up what I can. And I try to use as much as my whole body as I can. This isn't bodybuilding. I want everything developed. If I can do one exercise that develops 5 instead of 3, I want it. Mm-hmm. But other times I will be holding on to a door jamb of the garage as I'm got a platform, and I can really pull with my free hand and really drive into that and lift more weight.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's two different variations, but it really helps the sartorius muscle, you know. A lot of good stuff.
Michael, can you unmute and just elaborate on that question you had there?
Yeah, so I was doing some waiters side pressing the other day, and James had sent me the seesaw version of that twisting press, and I was just curious, like what would the benefits or the differences be between like doing the seesaw variation versus the video we looked at earlier, where it's just like the one side at a time.
No, that's pretty cool. The seesaw is hard to control, and you must stay in a certain parameter. You can't, like with the one we saw tonight, I can kind of lean away and get away with it. I'm not going to do that if there's a weight in my other hand. You know what I mean? It's going to keep me honest. So it's a more restricted, or what I call governed. I have movements that I call governed. Like if I can snatch like a 75-pound plate by the rim, but it's not so easy to do with one in each hand, because when there's only one, I can move around all I want and get under that plate, but I can't do that when I've got one in each hand. So with the seesaw waiter's press, you've really got to keep it strict. It's going to keep you from leaning. So if you are beat up and you want to make sure you don't go too heavy, I'll do the seesaw one because I know it's going to prevent me from going hog wild and hurt myself. They're both good. One's going to be more strict. One's going to allow you to lift a little bit heavier weight, which mentally is good, So that's the main difference. I don't think there's much of a physical difference as far as the effect of the muscles and the posture, but I think it's just a matter of which one is more strict than the other. Now, you've done the seesaw one?
I have not tried it yet. No.
Okay. It's I think if you look at my seesaw one, what was I using? 25 kilos? Something like that. I think it was 25. And I think with the other one, I can use.
You're holding the weight in both hands?
Yeah, twisting waiter's press. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, I left you out of the loop. I was mad at you that day. But I think I've done 30 kilos with the more loose style, the one-handed one. So, but it's much harder to do things both hands simultaneously on an implement in each hand versus one. So the one-handed one or the one implement requires a lot more lateral strength, coordination, timing, and ability. Whereas the one with an implement in each hand is more like a barbell lift because you can only move vertically. Did I answer that question all right?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. As long as you're happy, as long as you're satisfied. If it sounds like I'm BSing, let me know. I'll try to clean it up and find something better to say.
So you, you do a lot of training with your plates, and that's like a bit of a underground scene too, where it's like the hub plate work, like the grip training work, and then you'd sent me the competition where there's like actual competitions. People are basically, using the hub plates and performing those feats of strength with the plates. So that's like a different, maybe just a little bit more around like the benefits of getting into using the plate more. Grip strength. You've got the hub plates with the big centerpiece. So it's kind of like an all-encompassing, it's a very multifaceted tool that you could have in your gym.
Yeah, I remember being that 12-year-old kid who was bummed out that he didn't have this machine or that machine because, all we had back then was bodybuilding magazines. And I really want to give people options. I want them to say, if you got a barbell and 400 pounds of plates and a couple of adjustable dumbbells, you can train for a lot of years. So I try to get people some people don't have a lot of money. So if I can get them to grip train by using their plates, hey, here's an idea. Do this, try this, So I just try to help people out. Split snatches. I am doing them, number one, to do them and to get the experience of doing them. I try not to comment on things I've never done, so I'm trying to understand what the old-time strongmen did. That's why some of my implements go back to the pre-World War I, late 1800s, some of the pieces I use, because I'm trying to understand how the bar felt compared to how a bar feels today, the springiness and so on. The split snatches also partially I'm doing because I'm getting older and I just don't move as much as I did when I was, Luke's age or a lot of people's age, I just don't. And so I have to make sure to build in more movement into my training. And so the split snatch really requires a lot of foot speed, mobility. Tell me that doesn't have a lot of mobility. And if you've ever watched me do it, I switch each set, which foot goes forward and which foot goes back. And what I like about it versus the squat snatch is like the power jerk of weightlifting, which is like the sumo deadlift of powerlifting. A sumo deadlift is awesome. But man, if you are off a deadlift, I've pulled 600 sumo, but if you're off by a hair, you ain't making that 600-pound sumo. But if it's traditional deadlift, yeah, you can fudge it and still make it, And a power jerk is the same way. Power jerks, they look crisp and clean when they go right. When they go wrong, they really go south. But a split jerk, you can make it happen a lot of the time, And it's the same thing with a split snatch. It's very forgiving. And I'm not a very good lifter. I'm not a very technically skilled lifter. I came into the weightlifting part of it late. So it allows me to work on mobility and save a lot more lifts because it's so much more forgiving in the overhead position, Though I've always competed with a split squat snatch. I've always done squat snatch in competition up till now. I just haven't done my next competition yet because of the whole foolishness going on now. And usually anyone I train, I will, particularly anyone with wrist problems, until we get them fixed, I will have them split clean because you can have crap wrist mobility and still split clean. You don't need the same rack position.
That's absolutely fascinating.
Okay, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Yeah, glad to help. Yeah. So my older clients, or most of my clients, I'm not training weightlifters. I'm just training people to move better and to feel better. And so I'm going to teach them how to split clean and split snatch as a rule. I'm not worried about them snatching 300 pounds. I don't care. What's the best use of their time to get stronger and to move better? That's what it's about. So what was it about the deep knee bend?
Trevor saying that he's getting some popping and discomfort in the medial side of his knee.
Yeah. So like any other movement, like I can do full range sissy squats, pistol squats, but it only seems when I do the deep knee bends, even with body weight, I experience like some popping on like the medial side of my knee, and it like bugs me a little bit after. So I was asking if like there's ways to troubleshoot that, or are there any other good exercise that I can kind of regress to sort of solve that issue?
Do you do freestanding deep knee bends, or do you hold on to something?
Freestanding. And whenever I elevate the heels and do like squats, if I'm on like a slant board or something like that, no problem. But whenever like I take the slant board away and I go and I just transfer the weight to the ball of my feet and then come back up, that's where I experience the issue.
Are you going into your knees at the bottom, or are you just kind of going down straight? Because a deep knee bend, traditionally you come down and you rock into the knee joint. You use that stretch connective tissue of the patella tendon and then rock back and up. It's kind of like going around a corner. So you come down, slide into your knee joint, rebound out of that knee joint and come back up.
I usually just think about like just sitting my ass down like as far as I can. I haven't really thought about like transferring the weight up to my knees.
You could try that, see if it works, see if it, don't warm up, don't mask it with a warm up. Just try it. Hold on to something if you want. Do it in a doorway and try to get a feel for it. But aside from that, I don't know what would be causing that, unless it's just part of the growing pains of just not being used to it yet, But you could either hold on to a doorway or use bands to help lighten the resistance, like do a reverse band. Do you ever do it with the bar behind your body, like a Hackenschmidt lift?
I have done the Hackenschmidt lifts and no problems there. And like for those, I have like something on my heels to elevate the heels. And like I said, whenever I have like some sort of elevation for the heels and I'm not like just doing it freestanding, I don't really have any issues with it.
Interesting. Yeah. If like I said, if you can try rocking into the knees and rocking right back out, use that connective tissue. It might be part of what you're experiencing might be your body's just waiting for you to go into that, to use that connective tissue. It's there for a reason for us to use, It could be that. It could be just not being used to the movement yet. But if it doesn't clear up, there's no point. If it hurts you, don't do it, But that's all I've got. That's all I can tell you. I wish I could solve it for you, but that's the best I got.
It's all good. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All good.
Thanks, Trevor. Does anyone else have any questions for James before we hop off?
Ask me anything you want.
Now's the time.
Yeah, just wondering if you have any resources, a couple books, or it's just kind of hard to find this stuff. Like, you're a great resource in yourself, so you're the main guy right now. Who do you go to?
I think Super Strength by Alan Calvert. I just recently put up a post about that on Instagram. Written in 1924. It's about 300 pages. It'll probably cost $12 to $15. Really good read. Alan Calvert is the first person to develop a mass-produced barbell here in the States. And he was the man promoting strongman contests, promoting strongmen, endorsing them. Very interesting guy, but his book is really like the Book of Five Rings. If anyone's into martial arts, you know how important the Book of Five Rings is. It's what Bruce Lee kind of was inspired by to get his Jeet Kune Do, was the Book of Five Rings. So that book is pretty important. I believe it's Physical Training Simplified by Mark H. Berry. He was our first weightlifting Olympic team coach in 1928 and 1932. He's the man that introduced power racks for the Olympic team, which is why we have power racks. They're meant for advanced athletes, not meant for regular people. They're only originally created for Olympic level athletes, just like wrist straps were originally intended for only Olympic level athletes. But anyways, Mark Berry, really good book, really thorough. Textbook of Weightlifting, I believe by Arthur Saxon, is very good as well. I think that was written in 1905. That's when he was pretty much at his peak. It's when he did a two-hand anyhow of 202 kilos. So he bent pressed 336 pounds, reached down and grabbed a 112-pound kettlebell and popped it to his shoulder and then pressed it overhead. Out of body weight of 205. But and let's see, Weightlifting Made Fun and Easy by Bill Pullum, or W.A. Pullum from England. That's another good book. That should give you a good start. You will find that possibly different countries have different definitions of how the lift should be done, so just be aware of that. When I do old-time strongman competitions, I have to look up some of the international rules versus the U.S. rules because they will differ. And so I don't want to face a disqualification by not doing it to code, but just be aware some people are going to have a different take on it, But those are good starts, very good starts, I think. And read the magazines. A lot of the magazines are cheap. You can go back to the 30s and get a lot of these magazines for cheap, like Strength and Health, Your Physique, It's interesting, and you'll pick up tidbits here and there, but you got to read a whole magazine sometimes to pick up a tidbit. So I understand if it's not something people want to invest in, I get it, but it definitely helps you understand the history and why we're doing what we're doing and how come we're in the training mess that we're in now. We were in the Olympics. We used to have a one-hand snatch and a one-hand clean and jerk, and the rule was if you did a one-hand snatch with your left, you had to do the one-hand clean and jerk with your right. You couldn't use the same hand for both, so you had to have a strategy as to which one was your stronger lift. Usually, you'd go with your dominant hand with the one-hand snatch because that's it's more of a grip dominant exercise. The one-hand clean, you'll go with your other hand, one-hand clean and jerk. But yeah, those are good books. I would get Super Strength first. Yeah. Physical Training Simplified by Barry, I would get second.
I just got Super Strength. I've been going through it. It's pretty epic. I like the in the book that I got, he's like talking about an exercise in figure, 12 or whatever. And then I have to go back to the end of the book to look at it. And it's, and then come back to the front of the book. And I'm like, but it's really cool and it's really well written. And it all stands true today with everything. Like, I think the way we've been, like the way our coaches in our community apply strength training, it's just like when I read that, I'm like, this is who we are, like talking about strength training and range of motion and developing your back and certain things that I'm like, yeah, this is a wicked book.
What did I say? Super Training, Physical Training Simplified. I believe I said Textbook of Weightlifting by Arthur Saxon. Might have been the third one. And then I believe Weightlifting made Easy and Fun by W.A. Pullum, if I remember right. What really really screwed us was getting involved in the Olympics, and that's once we had 5 lifts at the Olympics starting in 1928, and that really a lot of the old time lifters were upset at that. And they said that's not enough lifts, and that's when people started focusing on doing well at the Olympics, and they started forgetting about the bench press and the Steinboard lift. And if it wasn't part of the competition, then why use it, So just like people used to do Jefferson lifts and hack lifts, but then powerlifting came along. Here in the States, it became an organized sport in 1964. So it became, well, I just need to be good at deadlifts, so I don't need to do hack lifts or Jefferson lifts anymore. So we've become very good at a few lifts, but that doesn't mean it's good for us,
Yeah. A lot of broken people.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
That's great. That was awesome.
Any other questions, anyone?
Cool. Well, if you guys do decide after the fact you do have a question, if you don't follow James already, which I'm pretty sure most of you already do now, but at strongman_archaeology on Instagram. Probably the best way to reach him right now. It's pretty accessible on there. Yeah. Thanks so much for jumping on, James. Like, really hoping that
Thank you.
COVID stuff can clear up over here so that we have talked about getting together and shooting some videos and some stuff like that. So yeah, that would be awesome. But
I got a passport just raring to go.
Right on. Thanks so much for jumping on, James.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on, everyone. We'll get back with something for next week. We'll go from there. Enjoy the week, guys.
Take care.